Well, welcome back to the channel. Something a bit different this time. These are the wheels off my father's old Micra, so similar to the Note, and these were in similar kind of condition to the wheels on my car until I've refurbished them recently. Mainly you can see that we're getting aluminium oxide under the paint, so the brake dust is horrible stuff, and so it reacts with the paint and ruins it. So especially, let's have a look, it tends to get it on the side here. Now the other wheel that I've got is much worse. So if we look at this one here, look how dreadful this is. It's all bubbly, and I mean it looks like rust, but it isn't because it's aluminium. So there's aluminium oxide mixed with brake dust. So look at that, not great. Now my father wants to sell this car and he just wants these tidying up, so we're going to do them. So I'm going to rub all this down, take all this off, get this as clean and as flat as I can. We'll fill any little imperfections with body filler, and then we're going to prime them with carb body primer. We'll then spray them a colour. We're going to go slightly darker silver than this, and then we'll top coat them, and I'll film it all and so you can see how we do it. Now I'm not a professional sprayer and this is happening in the shed, so you have to kind of accept the results that you're going to get if you haven't got a professional environment to do them in, but they're going to look 100% better than this. So we'll crack on and I'll prep the first wheel and we'll see how we get on. Righto, so I've made a start. I've got some fairly rough paper, and what I'm trying to do is just get rid of all the lumps and bumps around these wheel nut holes. Inside here as well we're getting quite a lot of loose paint coming off, so I need to make sure we get rid of all of that. The rest of the wheel isn't too bad. We've got odd bits of the brown horror here and down either side of the air valve, but generally it's not too bad. I must say we've done the other two wheels on his car and they were much worse than this. So I mean it does depend on how many miles you do and things like that. Yeah, so we've got some of the brown stuff on there, so I'm going to continue, try and get all of that brown stuff off. It doesn't actually matter if you go on some of these, it feels like I've gone down to the metal, don't worry about that. And there'll be odd little bits like this where we've got, see if I can get it to focus, little divots and things, but we'll fill all those with a bit of car body filler later and smooth them off. So I'm going to continue sanding until I get all this a consistent shade of scratched. Okay, so I've had a first go at it with this is quite rough aluminium oxide paper. I don't know if you can see, I've managed to get most of the brown horrible stuff off the spoke edges, and some of this you have to kind of do by touch. You can't really tell by how it looks. So feel along this with your fingers, feel for any indentations and sand until you're happy with the quality of the surface. And then I've generally roughed up the rest of it. Now some of these bits around, and especially in here, in the wheel nut holes, need a bit more of attention, and I'm going to have another go at this with some finer paper, some 400 and then some 600. And then what I'm going to do is put like a kind of guide coat on it. So I'm going to spray it with primer, because once this is all one colour the imperfections will jump out at you. So I'll get this as prepped as I can, and then I'm going to use the old trick of get an old pack of cards, and what you do is put these cards, I've used these before so they're all stuck together, so you use the cards and kind of overlap them like that in between the wheel and the tyre and go all the way around. And this is instead of having to mask off the tyre, and you'd be surprised how well it works. It's pretty effective. So overlap them about, you know, like a centimetre, and then go all the way around, and then you can spray inside this area and they don't have to worry about getting paint on the tyre. You don't have to remember to masking tape the air valve, otherwise it will go silver. But we'll do some more sanding and then I'll show you it just before I'm getting ready to prime. So we're at the next stage. this has been done with finer and finer papers. You really do need to rough this up because it won't key, the paint won't key onto this if it's still shiny and smooth. So this has all been wiped down, and I've got all the cards all the way around, look. So you can spray in here, and any overspray will go onto the cards, rather onto the tyre. You can put like tyre dressing gel, or I suppose you could even put like Vaseline or something like that on the tyre if you want to protect it from overspray. But I've used this method, and very rarely, unless you get unlucky and one of the cards moves, you know, if you hit it as you're doing your spraying, you're very unlucky to get any paint on the tyre. And most of the times you can either wipe it off, you can even lightly sand it off if it comes to it. So now I'm going to do the primer. This is the can of primer I've got. Make sure you give it a good old shake. You need to hear that ball going up and down. When I started shaking this, you couldn't hear the ball bearing at all. So give this a good shake for a couple of minutes, and then we'll prime this. Nice light coats. Don't over egg it when you're spraying. Much better to not have enough on, wait for a minute or two and have another go. If you spray too much, it'll run, and then you're back to sanding again. So light coats and lots of them is the order of the day. So I'll do that, and then I'll show you the result. Right, so that's the primer done. It looks glossy because I've only just done another coat. It will dry quite matte, and the coverage is quite good actually. There are odd bits. You can see there, look, if I zoom right in, there's one bit I've seen, there's a piece there that I've missed, but generally the finish is quite flat. You know, it's for a wheel, it sprayed in a shed, it's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this to dry for a day, and then what I'll do, I'll come back, we'll take all the cards off, and I'm going to have another go at sanding so I can get rid of these marks. I want this as nice as I can get it, you know, within reason. I mean, it's a road wheel. I don't need it to be perfect, but I'm doing it for somebody else, so I want it to be as good as I can get it. So we'll give this time to dry and for the paint to go off and set hard, and then I'll have another go at these odd bits that I can find. We'll primer it again, and then we'll look at doing the top coating, and we'll film that while we're doing that as well. So we'll give this time to dry, and I'll see you in a bit when that's done. Right, so it's the day after. This is the second wheel. As you can see, it has all been sanded and prepped. Got rid of all the horrible stuff, and I've already started putting the cards on. The other wheel, which was primed yesterday, is looking pretty good. There are a few dodgy bits still to sort out. So there's a piece there, and you can see here where the old paint's come off because the oxide was underneath. I'm going to put a thin film of filler, car body filler, on these, and then sand them again, and then primer again because I want as flat a surface as I can get. Then this will be ready for the actual colour coat. I can feel a few little nibs in the paint, probably from dust in the air, because this is my workshop, so there's always going to be stuff floating around in the air. So that just wants a final sand after I've sorted these out, and then that'll be ready to put colour on. The other wheel that we just looked at is ready for this treatment to have its first primer. So I'll do that, and we'll come back when this one is finished and we're putting the colour on. Okay, so things are moving right along. This is wheel number 2. It's had its first coat of primer, which is just finished, so it still looks glossy. And wheel number 1 has had the filler treatment. So I put the tiniest skim of car body filler in those little holes. Remember, the more you put on, the more you've got to sand off afterwards, so if you can put as little on as you really need to. Better to underfill actually, and then have to do it again, to be honest. The rest of the wheel I've sanded with 1000 grit paper, which feels like no grit at all. When you touch it, it's like putting your hand on tissue paper, but believe me, the grit is there, and this just takes off all those little nibs of paint and dust that got trapped in the paint. This is perfectly smooth now. So when this filler's gone off, which takes about 20 minutes, I'll then flatten that off. This one will then get another coat of primer, and then we'll do the same treatment as I've just done on here on the other wheel. So this wheel will go over there and that one will come over here, and we'll swap, and then we'll be in the position where we've got two wheels which are ready for the colour coat. We're now at the point where this wheel is pretty much completely prepped as far as primer is concerned. We're back with putting all the cards around the outside. This surface, I don't want to touch it because I've just cleaned it. This has been primered. I've got the any imperfections have been fillered and then smoothed out, and the whole thing's been sanded with 1000 grit paper. This is as good as I'm going to get it working in the garden shed effectively. The other wheel that's on the other bench is nearly in this condition. It wants one final sand and then wipe it down with a bit of alcohol to prep it, and then we'll do the colour coat on that one as well. So on this one we're ready for the colour coat, which I've chosen, well, I'll show you. So this is a colour we're going for. It's a metallic, so you need to give it quite a good shake, you know, a good 2 or 3 minutes. Make sure that the metallic particles are well distributed inside the paint, and then I'm going to give it 2 or 3 good coats of this. Again, don't go mad when you're spraying, little and often. So lay down a coat, don't worry if you missed a bit, you'll get it the next time. Much better to do 4 or 5 passes over until you completely cover everything than try and slap it all on in one coat, and then you'll end up with runs, and then you'll end up waiting for it to dry and have to sand it all off and start again. So gently does it. So I'm going to do the colour coat on this wheel, and once this one's done we can move on to the other wheel. Right, starting to get excited now. So here's the first of our colour coat. Let's zoom in. It has got a bit of a metallic in it, and you can see I'm quite happy with the finish. So I'm going to keep giving this coats, let it dry and go tacking, and give it another one. Try and build up the thickness of the paint. When this is done, we're going to top coat it just to protect it with like a clear lacquer. So need this one to dry, and then I'm going to paint the other one. And then it'll be top coat for both, and then that should be it. Right, we're getting somewhere now. This is the second one. This is looking much nicer. You know, if you look at the quality of this one, no marks anymore. Again, this is still quite glossy because it's freshly painted. This has had 2 or 3 coats of the colour coat. If we go look at the other one, so this is the other wheel, and you can see already as it's drying it's going kind of matte. Well, not as shiny anyway. So when this one's finished and the other one's dry, we'll be looking at top coating both of these just to provide some protection, and then the job will be finished. But I'm really pleased with these. It's gone really well. So we're continuing the top coating. So the idea with spray cans is to sort of go across as sort of parallel to the thing you're painting as possible, and you press the button and hold it down and let go as you get to the end, and as you come back press the button, hold it parallel, let go. And I've always seen advice online about painting with these cans. Painting in general with this kind of paint is to kind of get closer than you think you need to be. So kind of like this, but not too much. Don't go mad. Do that, walk away, have 5 minutes, you know, looking at your phone, contemplating your navel. Come back, and I'm going to work my way around, stand at another side of the wheel and do it again, and then check I've got every bit, you know, every part of the wheel has been covered. But you can see already how it's starting to get a nice shine on it. So just continue like that. This one's already had the top coat, it's nice and shiny, that's finished. And the other wheel, the colour coat, well, it's had 2 or 3 colour coats now, it's been sanded in between, and this is ready for the top coat. So I'm going to spray this with the top coat now. I'm just shaking the can, getting ready, and that'll pretty much be it. So as I said at the start of this video, I don't own a body shop. This isn't a professional operation, but this was done really just to show you that you can refurbish wheels at home in the shed. You know, it's all about preparation with doing this kind of job. And even if you get the odd upset, which I've had here, you can probably see on the video, the paint has reacted with something here. Well, I could spend a lot of time rubbing that down and repainting it, but to be honest, for the kind of car it is, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to top coat this, because in probably 2 or 3 years time these wheels will be like they were before, and we'll be doing them again. So this is really just the budget version of refurbing your wheels. So if this has been any use to you at all, I'm glad. If not, you can always take them to be professionally done and pay £200 or £300 to do that. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and all that other good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video.